Hi,
Hi,
how are you doing today? Great to
I'm
see you.
good. How are you?
Very well, thank you. Where are you dialing in from?
Oh, Maryland, Silver Spring, Maryland. Yeah.
Fantastic. Well, thank you for joining, and I appreciate you being on time and ahead of schedule. I saw you joined a couple minutes ago, so
Hmm.
really appreciate the punctuality.
Yeah.
We'll
Yeah.
just give folks a few minutes to join, and then we'll get
Sounds,
started.
that sounds good. Thank
Great.
you.
Yeah, absolutely. And I love that you have your camera on. It's definitely the best way to go in terms of the energy exchange.
Exactly. So
Yeah.
now, where are you?
I'm based in London
Hmm.
and I have lived, and I will tell you a little bit about my background when we get started, but I've been living here for 7 years, but I used to live in the US.
Okay. Which part?
And I've lived in a couple different parts, but primarily New York City.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
Great.
yeah. I'm just going to turn off some heater here.
Hmm.
Um, how's the weather in? You said Maryland.
Yes, it is really beautiful today.
Yeah,
It just will start to cool down, but it's just feels amazing outside right now. It's sunny and really nice.
fantastic. Just going to let some people in. Hi, Smitha. Do you hear us? Hi, everyone. I see we have a few people in the room, and I can only see Amy. So I would love to have all of you turn on your cameras and be, participating in this. I get my energy from all of you, and it would be great to see you. And as you know, this is an interactive live workshop, so you will be working alongside me, and just having your faces on the screen will just make it feel like we're all working together in one room and just part of the same experience. So thank you. So I see we have Shuchi. Hi, Shuchi. Lovely to see you. Thanks for turning on your camera. I appreciate it. We have Smita. Smita, if you can also turn on your camera, that'd be great. I have a Humbert. I don't know if that's the name of the person joining, or yeah, there we go. I have another iPhone joining for Smita. We'll just get started in a few minutes. I think people might be running from another meeting and giving them time to just show up here. So while we wait for a few other folks to join, it's lovely to see all of you today. Hope you're all doing very well. Um, Type in the chat where you're dialing in from. Amy's already shared with me. She's from Maryland. We got to have a chat since she was the first one here. And how you're feeling today. So a couple of words to describe how you're feeling and what the weather's like where you are. That'll just get us warmed up. Oh, Munich, hi. Not too far from me. I'm in London. So while you're doing that, I'll share that I'm in London. The weather here is cloudy, overcast, with a little bit of drizzle, as is quite common, and not too cold. And I'm feeling really energized and excited to be here with all of you today, and really looking forward to the next 90 minutes that we have together. Okay, Smith, I think you have another iPhone you're joining from. Okay, we have a few different locations coming in. Let's see here. I have to get my glasses on. Silver Spring, Maryland, Munich, Germany, Awesome. We have Humbert from Munich. Humbert, are you able to put your camera on? We have Dallas. Oh, your camera's not working. I see that. Okay, in the chat now, no problem. But I look forward to continuing to see you participate in the chat and in the conversation. Great. Well, we are going to get started. So you are here today, and I'm going to share my screen in a second. That way we will all be able to see what I am talking about. 1 second. There we go. You are all here to talk about building and leveraging your circle of influence so you can get the respect, recognition, and income that you deserve, even if you feel like your work should speak for itself or you dislike networking, okay? But before we dive in, what you are going to walk away with is knowing exactly how to build influence. You will map your circle of influence, and you will build a plan to activate your circle of influence. Because it's not enough to just know what influence is or to just have a map of who your participants are in your circle of influence, but you actually need to activate that. And why does this matter? Because networking is the #1 secret to success. You can be the hardest worker and the best performer, but without influence, you won't advance. Because when others advocate for you, you're amplifying your own work and efforts. Your work doesn't have to speak for itself. You have others amplifying, like with this microphone, the work that you're doing, your wins. Let me ask you, does any of this sound like you? Just taking a second for the slide to load. Well, it's not loading, so I will ask you, does any of this sound like you? Are you feeling like your efforts are not translating into the recognition that you deserve?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I do.
Great, great. And yeah, and for now, just put yourself on mute. I'm just going to ask you this, as a question to make sure that you can self-identify with some of these things, which is why this matters. And it's a shame here, really, because I have all this for you to self-identify with. So that's okay though. Sometimes these things happen. So let me just you can see it now, can't you? So let's just do this without the present mode. So are you not being approached for opportunities? Are you missing the feedback that actually fuels your growth? Are the decisions that impact you being made without you in the room? You don't feel like you're getting the stretch roles, even though you know you're ready. And you feel like you've been passed over for promotion, even though you are the most qualified candidate. So if any of this sounds like you, you're in the right place, okay? But what if instead of that, you could have your wins travel so the right people know your impact? Have leaders champion your ideas when you're not in the room? Get insider feedback that helps you play and win the real game. Be invited to strategic conversations before decisions are made about you, and advance faster because your name naturally comes up for opportunities. So that's the shift we're going to make today, okay? We're going to go from all the things that you're currently resonating with around, does this sound like you, to actually feeling all of these things where you are now seated at the table where decisions about you are being made, where people are amplifying your effort, okay? So a little bit about me before we dive into the content. This is me at the Niagara Falls on the American side last summer with my husband and 2 boys. I have a 13-year-old and a 10-year-old. We live in London now, but I have lived and worked in many different parts of the world. I was born in India, so that's the first part of my life, the first 18 years. I moved to the United States when I was 18 for undergrad. I lived and worked there for 17 years. I worked in New York City for most of that time. I got my MBA at Harvard Business School, And then we moved to Singapore about 12, 13 years ago with a young child in tow to continue with our global career trajectories. I've been in London for the last 7 years. In terms of industries, I've worked in a couple of different industries. I started out on Wall Street, so worked in finance in New York City. I also worked in hospitality. I then ran my own consulting company, and now I'm an executive and leadership coach for high-performing women who want to advance in their career. Why I'm here talking to you about all this today is really important for me to share, because I've been in your shoes. I know what it's like to try and go from being an individual contributor, a manager, to being someone that shows up with confidence, with authority, with influence, so that your name is put forth for promotion, so that you are amplified in your effort by advocates and mentors. And so in a lot of the learnings that I've had in my 2 decades of leadership experience, but also as a coach, I've seen women struggle with this over and over again. And so what I've built here, what I'm going to share with you today, is an entire system around how to create influence, build your circle of influence, and amplify your influence. Before I move on, I wanted to share a story about how this has personally impacted my career. I have had a sponsor that changed the trajectory of my career. When I was looking to move as a family from New York to Singapore, I was working at the time in a global hospitality company, which today is Marriott, at the time was Starwood Hotels. And my boss was a C-suite executive. He was the COO of the company. And I asked him whether it would be possible for me to move with the organizations and not having to leave Starwood, but move with them from Singapore to from New York to Singapore. And because of the relationship we had and the trust and the respect, without batting an eyelid, he essentially wrote an internal memo. And even though there was no role for me in Singapore, he said, we've got to keep her. He liaised with other leaders on the other side of the world and ensured that the leadership team in Singapore was going to take care of me. They were going to look after me. And that's what sponsorship looks like in action. That when there was this life decision that we needed to make, I had someone in my corner who not only vouched for me, but he made it happen for me. And that's just a small example that I want to use to set the tone, or not really a small example, a powerful example of what's possible when you have a circle of influence and the right sponsors. Okay, so the first thing we're going to look at is, what is influence? Okay, and this guy here on the screen has written this amazing book called Influence, The Psychology of Persuasion. He is the granddaddy of influence. His name is Robert Cialdini. I don't know if any of you have seen his work. And by the way, I'm not paying a lot of attention to the chat right now because I'm focused on, on all of you learning and being part of this experience. So we'll come back to the chat once I'm done with kind of the formal part of this discussion. So influence is the capacity to have an effect, I like this definition, on the character, the I've got to move my screen, development or behavior of someone or something, or the effect itself that leads to. Okay, so we're not going to get very academic here, but just wanted to set the tone so we're all on the same page of what influence really is. And I've read this book and it's excellent. So before we go on, and I told you it was going to be an interactive session where you're going to work alongside me. Hopefully you all have the workbook that I shared along with the reminder emails. And when you registered, if you don't have it, no problem, just write down and I'll share it with you after as well. A time when someone influenced your career. You just heard me speak about this sponsor in my life, 13 years ago, that changed the trajectory by allowing me to make this incredible move and experience, a whole different, part of the world. Think of a similar example for you, whether it's in the context of work, hopefully it is, but if not, that's fine. And what did they do that made you trust or follow their lead? Because someone can suggest, but you may not necessarily take the lead. So what was something that they did that made you trust or follow their lead? And while you're doing that, I'll answer one of the questions in here. Is it Nusheen? Yes, hi Nusheen. I didn't get to say hello to you earlier because I think had started when you joined. I will be sharing the entire replay of this. Absolutely. Yeah. Okay, so great to get the wheels in motion around the power of influence in your life, someone who has impacted you and what they did to do that, okay? We're going to move on. So why are we talking about influence here? Why does influence even matter in career advancement? For 3 reasons. To enlist others in your goals, okay? Which could be a pay raise, a promotion, a title change, a different job. You need a team of people, just like you can't play a football match, or as you know, some of you say soccer, with one person on the team. You need an entire team of 11 to score a goal, to defend against the other team, right? So think of influence as the ability to build a team, to enlist them in your goals, to amplify your wins. It's like having a loudspeaker so that your efforts aren't invisible, and to advocate for you when you're not there. Because you can't be in every room when your name comes up. Even if you think you can, you can't. Your name will come up multiple times a day in different rooms, and you can't be everywhere. When you have influence, your career advances in the right direction because you have other people also advocating for you. So what is this circle of influence that I'm talking about? Okay, it includes everything that you can do to activate support towards your goals, and everyone. So it's what you can do and the people who are involved to support you in getting there, which means it has 3 components: the how, the who, and the what you can do. Okay, so we're going to look at each of these 3 pieces now. So let's start by looking at the how, which is how do you build influence? Okay, that's step 1. So I'm going to share with you these 6 incredible levers or tools, which are the psychology at play, okay, that Dr. Cialdini has spent his entire life dedicated to the study of influence, and I'm distilling it down into these 6, points and parameters for you. This is about why people say yes. How do you get your boss to say, yes, I'm going to promote you. Yes, I agree with your pay raise. How do you get that person you're interviewing with to say, yes, you've got the job, or whatever the question is, yes to the project, yes to the budget. You need to understand these levers, okay? And of course, apply them ethically in daily life. Hopefully that's not going to be needed to be said. The first one, we'll look at each one at a time. Reciprocity. What does reciprocity mean? It means people feel obligated to return the favors that are performed for them. Okay, so if someone does something very kind for you, the next time they ask you for something, you're going to want to return that favor. Imagine a colleague stays with you late into the evening because you just lost a document. And the next time they ask you for help, what do you think you're going to say? Of course, that's reciprocity at work. They're kind of putting little deposits into the bank account that you can later withdraw from, okay? The second lever is commitment and consistency. Once people commit to what they think is right, whether it's orally or in writing, they're more likely to honor that commitment. What that means is if you ask me for something, like say Nosheen asked me whether I will be sending this PowerPoint. I said, yes, I'm going to share the replay right after this. I am now committing to doing that. So the chances of me doing that are pretty high, okay? So once you have asked someone to do something and they've committed to it, you have influence because people are hardwired to follow through for the most part on their commitment and to show up in a consistent way. The third lever is social proof. People will do things that they see other people doing. I don't know if any of you have children or teenagers, but this is about, hey, mom, I want to go to the concert. All my friends are going. Hey, mom, I want a phone. All my friends have a phone, right? It's that social proof that everyone else is doing it. I should too. The fourth lever is authority. We obey authority figures. This is why when a cop pulls you over, you're not going to argue with him because he's got a gun, right? The speed gun, and you don't. Or when you go to the doctor's office, they say, you need to quit smoking. That's it. They're people in authority, and we tend to obey them because we see them as having an expertise higher than ours in that domain. Number 5 is liking. People are easily persuaded by other people whom they like. Think about someone you really like and admire. When they ask you to do something, you are more likely to do it. If a colleague you really like says, hey, Nosheen or Amy, let's go out for a drink after work. There's something I want to chat with you about. Your chances of saying hi are much higher towards a colleague you like than towards someone you don't. This is a basic point, but this is a lever of influence. People we like have influence over us. And then scarcity, this perceived scarcity will generate demand. What does that mean? It means that when you walk by a coffee shop and you see a long queue, you're like, ooh, there's something precious here. There's something special I need to have. Or if a restaurant has, a 6-week wait list, you're more likely to want that restaurant, that thing. That's creating influence through scarcity. So we're not going to spend too much time on the framework and the levers, but I want to introduce you to these concepts because they are the 6 pillars of how to drive influence. And if you can just bear this in mind in all of the things that you do as you build your circle of influence and activate your network, you're going to be 1,000 miles ahead of the rest that have no understanding of how influence works. Okay, so your turn. Right, in the chat, so that we can all be part of this collective experience, and in your workbook, one small action you can take this week, we have, Thursday and Friday, or into next week if you like, to use one of these levers, whether it's at work or at home. I want you to think of a specific example and write. So I'm going to do that with you. While we all think about this. Actually, by having you all here in this community with me for this webinar, for this workshop, it's social proof that this topic is valuable to all of you and that you are here to learn from me. So that is creating social proof, right? And I just came up with that off the top of my head because I didn't have an example of a different of a different kind. But we're all here together, and so you are all social proof to each other that this is an important topic that's essential for all of you to figure out as you advance in your career. So let me see what some of you are saying in the chat. Anyone have any question about this before you come up with your example, or is it crystal clear?
I do have a question, if you may.
Yes.
Hello, everyone. Well, I understand the different levers, but I'm not sure in the context of the influence, how to use some of those. Can you maybe provide an example? For example, authority. I understand that someone with authority has an influence, but actually it's the other way around. How do I influence someone with more authority?
Yes, that's a lovely
So
point.
how do I use authority in this case? That's what I'm not getting.
Yeah, no, it's a very good question and a very good lever you picked. This isn't saying do all these things to get influence. This is going one level deeper, Nosheen, and saying these are the things that drive influence. This is how someone is influencing you, and this is how you might be influencing someone. So your boss may have influence over you because he's in a position of authority over you, right? In order to influence someone, if you look at authority as an example, how do you show up as an authority figure for them? What can you do to assert your authority, right? When you walk into a doctor's office, there's no question who's the doctor, who's the patient. That's a dynamic we all know. When the cop pulls you over, we know who's the cop and who's, the guy being pulled over. But in everyday life, we don't walk around with these labels. So in a situation where you need to influence someone, everyone's situation is different. How do you show up with that authority? Is it in the way you speak? Is it in what you're sharing? Is it what you have to say? And it's the understanding that authority drives influence. It's the understanding that scarcity drives influence. Okay, Shuchi, thank you for sharing your example. I'd like to build reciprocity with some leaders. I would love to do something good for someone, as I'd love to have as an ally. Maybe I can request meetings with some leaders and I can ask them how I can. I love that. You are already diving into kind of, the future part of this session and building reciprocity by making those deposits into someone's account, that you have that for when you need to withdraw it. So brilliant, brilliant example. Nosheen, is that coming together for you? Okay, brilliant. Okay, we're going to keep going. We have a lot that I want to take you through. So now that you've got this understanding of these 6 levers of influence, we're not diving into, well, how do you use social proof or liking or, each of that. But we're going to talk about how you build your circle of influence, the mapping, okay? So within your circle of influence, you have 3 sets of people. Your entire network, which is the sum total of everyone you know, allies and supporters, your support network, and then this is a concept I feel really strongly about, your personal boardroom. Okay, we're going to talk about each of these now. So your entire network is the sum total of everyone you know, but here's the thing most people miss. You need both weak and strong networks, okay? And you can see the difference in these images. Why? Why do you need a weak network? What does a weak network even mean? It means volume. It means knowing loads and loads and loads and loads of people. Why? Because when you have a weak network, it's just doing the maths. The more people you know, the more opportunities for someone to think of you. That doesn't mean you discount your inner circle, but make it your business to get to know a lot of people and keep in touch with them. Because when you know someone who knows someone who knows someone who knows someone, the chance of you finding the right opportunity, being connected to the right person for a job, for fundraising, whatever it might be, is exponentially higher. If you only focus on deepening relationships with a small network, you're not going to let the maths play out. That I know someone who knows someone who knows someone. This is a very beautiful example by a very powerful woman in finance. Some of you might know Sally Krawcheck. She used to be the CEO of the wealth team at JP Morgan, and now she's running a company called Elvest. She's one of those successful people in finance. And she said, I never say how powerful is your network. I say how weak is your network. And she said, that's how I found all my opportunities, sitting on a plane next to someone who knew someone who knew someone who knew someone. Okay, so take this away as a big insight. The second set of people you need, excuse me, are allies and supporters. Excuse me. Allies are colleagues who support your ideas. They collaborate on projects. They provide feedback. They're the people who you can go to and say, hey, I'm new here. I don't know about how this manager works. Can you help me out? Can you help me understand, how I should approach this with him? They are there to support you with whatever your goals and issues and challenges might be. Hence, we call them allies. Support networks are especially important for women because we might face unique challenges in the workplace. What do I mean by that? I'm a working mother. Some of you might be as well, right? To know that there's a support, and I'm using motherhood as one example, there can be many such, a community of, fellow mothers who understand that we need flexibility, at different times of day. Sometimes children fall sick, not that this is not true of men, but having people that are like-minded, that have the same set of challenges, opportunities, issues as you, allows us to feel less stressed about the little things that can go wrong, right? When we feel supported, understood. Support networks are really important for this reason. So we've talked so far about the weak network, not just strong networks, allies who are your supporters at work, peers who will help you understand how to work with your boss, navigate the ins and outs of a new organization, support you on a project, maybe work with you, partner with you, but also support networks that can be really important, especially for women. Now we're going to talk about a really important concept, which is the personal boardroom. Okay. Public companies, private companies as well, have boards of directors where they assign roles for different jobs. There's the audit committee, compensation committee, finance committee, HR committee, selection committee, whatever that might be. They have those committees and they have people in those roles. Well, think of yourself as a mini company. And if a company that has 200,000 people can benefit from a board of directors, you as one person certainly can benefit, because now you have this board whose job it is to protect and further your own interests. Okay, so I want that to sink in. Like, if a 200,000 person organization needs a board, here's little old me, one person. What would having a board of directors do for my level of influence? So how do you build this personal board of directors? Okay, there's 4 distinct roles, and you can shift this over time and relabel, but these are essentially core starting points for your board. Okay, if you want to add, by all means you can. There are sponsors, mentors, challengers, and cheerleaders. Okay, let's look at each of these roles and their importance. So what is the role of a sponsor? And I love this quote by Marshall Goldsmith, who is, a thought leader around leadership and has written a lot about leadership and coaching. He's considered the top executive coach in the world. And I love how he says it. Mentors are about talk. Sponsors are about action. Not diminishing the roles of mentors, but saying sponsors are people who get things done for you. Remember the story I said at the beginning about my sponsor, my boss, the COO, who said, we've got to keep her people. She's not leaving just because she's moving with her family. Find her a role. If he hadn't said that, I would probably not have been able to move to Singapore because I would have had a role, okay? And would not have brought me here today. So that's what it looks like to have a sponsor in action. They open doors for you within and outside your organization. You may have had a sponsor in a prior role, maybe 5, 7, 10 years ago, and now you're looking for a new opportunity. You can call them and say, hey, I'm looking for an opportunity, and they might know someone they can call and say, I've seen, Amy or Nasheen or Shuchi or Smita at her best. I know what she's capable of. You better hire her. You better talk to her. And here's the bottom line. Men and women with sponsors are more likely to ask for pay raises and stretch assignments than those without, because they feel supported. They feel believed in. They feel like someone's there looking out for them. This is a game changer. But here's the reality that, because if it was really easy, everyone would be doing it. Everybody wants one. But companies are like pyramids, right? There's a lot of people down at the bottom, and as you rise to the top, that structure narrows. There's only a few people at the top, and everyone wants them to be their sponsor. There's too few sponsors for too many employees. So it takes time. You can't just walk around with, a billboard saying, who wants to be my sponsor? I need a sponsor. That's not how it works. You need someone with who you have a relationship, someone who believes in you. They will sponsor you if they see potential in you. Okay? No one's going to take time. No sponsor worth having is going to take time and pound their fist and go out to bat for you if they don't believe in it, if you don't already have that deep relationship with they've seen, value. Number 2, we're going to talk about mentors. What roles do mentors serve? They help you navigate career challenges. They've been in your shoes. I am a mentor to many women because I have spent 20 years in corporate, 4 industries, 4 continents. I have been through a lot of the ups and downs of what it takes to get promoted, what it feels like when you're stuck and overlooked. So they can help you navigate the ups and downs of your career. They help you see the bigger picture. Because when you're in it, you have, blinkers on, right? You just are so focused on your problem and your issue on, is it A or is it B? Well, there might be an infinite possibility of options. So mentors help you kind of step up and see that bigger picture. They offer insights and wisdom from their own lived experience. Okay, this is not about them being abstract or theoretical. They are someone who has walked in your shoes and can support you with whatever it is you're going through. But again, just like with sponsors, you can't walk around saying, will you be my mentor? And Sheryl Sandberg really nailed it when she said, waiting for a mentor is like waiting for your Prince Charming. Okay, when will I get a mentor? It's more than a label. The word mentor never needs to be mentioned. In fact, I've had sponsors and mentors and I have never called them that until, years later as I'm talking to you, because it's better than the relationship. The relationship comes alive based on your interaction, not based on what you call each other. And it's a two-way relationship, right? It's not just about you sucking them dry of all their knowledge. They will also learn from you. The mentee receives specific advice, but the mentor receives benefits. You might have your finger on the pulse of the organization that maybe not have access to otherwise. You're providing them insider information. What's going on? What is the team thinking? What are some of the challenges you're facing at your level? You've got this wealth of knowledge and insights that you can offer them as well. Okay. And so that's how you can develop this relationship, whether or not you label it as such. But the reality of being a mentor is that, again, with sponsors, there may be too few mentors for too many employees. So it's always good to start with someone you already have a relationship with. Challenges. They are people who push you to see different perspectives. I mean, for many of us, it might be your husband. I know certainly for me, my husband definitely challenges me all the time, right? See a different perspective. Here's what it sounds like. You said you wanted this, but now you're doing that. You said your value is, freedom, but you're actually taking this job where you're likely to have no freedom. You said you really value ambition, but you're not stepping up to the plate when this opportunity was offered. Are you playing it safe? Challengers are people who you trust, who trust you, who know you inside and out, and are willing to speak truth to power. Okay, they're not here to just toe the line and say, okay, yeah, you're doing a great job. Their role specifically is to challenge you on decisions that are not aligned with how they see you and what you've said are your goals. Okay. And then we have what we all need, which are cheerleaders. They pull you up when you're down. For those of you that are parents or siblings or partners, you are that cheerleader every single day to your child, to your sister, to your brother, to your parents, to your partner. When they've had a bad day, they still believe in you. They still encourage you, because there will be bad days. You may not get the promotion. You may not get the title change. You may not get the pay raise. Someone might get promoted over you, even though they're less competent or less deserving. So these are the people that you can go to and say, yeah, I've had a terrible day, and they will help you dust yourself off, just like when your child falls off a bike, you help them dust off and pick them up. Okay. So to recap, you have sponsors, mentors, challengers, and cheerleader in your personal boardroom. What we're going to do now is we're going to pause, and I'm going to give you a couple of minutes to get to work, because I told you, you're not just going to sit back and passively listen. We're going to actively work together to build this mapping of our circle of influence. Okay. So in your workbook, you have this table, or if you don't, you can just create one in a notebook. Does anyone need me to put a link to the workbook in the chat? I'm happy to do that. Yeah, okay, I'll do that. But let me just walk you through this. So I would like you to come up with one, if not three, sponsors, a specific person, the name, why they're on your board, and how you'll connect with them. Email, coffee, note, DM, whatever it is. Mentors. And then you would do the same for challengers and cheerleaders. Okay. So you'll have, if you don't have all 12, look, when I first started this, I had maybe like one for sponsor, two for mentors, one for challenger, two for cheerleaders. But the idea is that you now have a template that you can start working through. Okay. So I'm going to stop sharing and play you guys some music. But first, I'm going to put the workbook link in the chat in case you don't have it on hand. you could easily access it here. That's not it. Yeah, that's it. Alrighty. I'm gonna play you some lovely music. I'm gonna take about 3 to 4 minutes on this, okay? So it's 41 past for me at about 45, so 1:45. I'll regroup.
Excuse me.
Yeah.
Can you rephrase again what do you mean with why they are on our board?
Yeah, like how can they help you?
What do you
Right.
expect there?
Let me just turn the music down for a second. Yeah. Did that answer your question? Okay, great. Yeah, we're gonna start to wrap up. What was that like for everyone? How easy or not was it to come up with the different people in your circle of influence? Who found that really easy? Type easy in the chat. Okay, well, there you go. You've just uncovered a big opportunity, Shuchi. I have mentors, challengers, and Chili. See, this is fascinating. This is why we put pencil to paper, to actually see, do we have people in these roles? You know, it's like, imagine a company and they had 10 people on their board and they were all on the HR committee, but no one to help them with finance or with audit or with whatever else their needs are, right? So your network might be over indexing or skewed so heavily in one direction, or your close relationships might be, that you might be missing those growth opportunities that come from even one or two sponsors. Okay. Any other insights on this? Did anyone have sponsors? No one. You can just come off and say yes if you did. Any other part of this that was challenging? You can just before we move on, I just wanted to do a quick pulse check. So we're a small group. You can speak. Don't worry. Okay. Well, let us rock on. Okay. What we're gonna do now is sorry, someone's saying something.
Yeah, that would be me, Maharukh. So if I may just add here, so in my case, I have sponsors. I have two mentors. Maybe if I think hard, maybe I'd uncover maybe another one. But for me, I think the main challenge remains that while I do have sponsors, mentors, and kind of also even in the other two categories, it's not in the direction that I want to take my career in, especially because industries nowadays are very niche and they have like specific niche requirements. So I think for me, breaking out, okay, I may be able to open doors, but probably not the right doors, or at least the doors that I would want to have open to me. So I think I'm struggling a little bit into breaking into new areas. And while I do have sponsors, like say in in influential roles, if I may say so, or reasonably influential roles, it's not necessarily in the direction that I want to go. So I think that's where either on paper, yes, I do, but are they the right ones? Probably not.
Got it. No, thank you for sharing that. So, this is almost like a blind spot discovering exercise, right? Where you're able to map out where you have zero, where you have a few, but they're not the right ones, where you are strong, where you are weak. So this is brilliant. Thank you for putting in the work. And that's why this workbook is going to be a tool for you to carry forward, beyond today, so that you can continue to work through all of the things that you uncover here. So what I want you to do is, if you don't have mentors and sponsors, this is for you to go and do in your own time. Identify and reach out to potential mentors and sponsors. Research individuals who align with your career goals. If you don't already have them in your network, initiate contact. Articulate why you're seeking mentorship or sponsorship, how you hope to benefit. And I know I said earlier you should start with an existing relationship, but sometimes we don't have those. And I know plenty of people, this is, by the way, only if you don't have them in your network already, because some of you said you don't, that literally find people on LinkedIn that went to the same college, went to the same university, are graduates of the same program, or worked in the same company previously. All you need is a point of connection. And then remember those levers of influence. You can do something for them to establish that lever of reciprocity. So they want to do something for you. You can commit to helping them to build influence, right? So this is where all of those learnings are starting to stack. But we're going to move on now, because I have other interesting things that we're going to talk about. The third piece, which is the what. Okay, so we've done how, like what is influence? We've done the who, starting to map your circle and seeing where you have gaps and opportunities. And now we're going to talk about, well, now what do you go out and do with this network, whether it's your broad network, weak network, your personal board of advisors, etc. Okay, we're going to start by reframing networking. And I'm not exaggerating when I say that 99% of my clients, regardless of who they are, work with senior consultants and consulting companies or partners or CEOs. Women have a mixed bag relationship with networking, because we are really great at establishing deep, meaningful connections. We are hardwired from our hunter-gatherer days to be very deep in our conversation, to tell stories, because we needed the tribe to like us, because that way they would look after us and our children if something were to happen to us. So we're very good at these deep, meaningful conversations. But we are not, where we fall a little bit short, we're not as strong, is in asking for help when we need it, because we view it as manipulative, awkward, sign of neediness, sign of weakness, for no reason except that that's just a notion we have, right? So let's see how we can reframe networking. I love this. The first thing is people love to feel helpful. Because when you ask someone for help, you are tapping into their core human need for recognition. Recognition is a top 2 human need. We all want to be recognized. That's why we're all here. And when someone asks you for help, don't you feel recognized? So why would you deprive someone of that opportunity to feel recognized? Because that's what you're doing when you ask them for help. You're giving them a chance to demonstrate their expertise, to shine. So think about how you feel if you were to ask for help or guidance. You'd feel valued, you'll feel flattered. So this reframe has really moved the dial for a lot of my clients, where they go from saying, oh, I have all these people in my network because I've worked at these amazing organizations and gone to these amazing universities, but I don't really know how to ask for help. I'm like, wait a minute. Think about the last time someone asked you and said, hey, Mina, would you mind talking to my friend who's looking for a job? Hey, Mina, I wanted to pick your brain about, you feel great, right? The second way to reframe networking is you're creating a value exchange. This is not a take. You have something valuable to offer them. Remember reciprocity, whether that's an internal or external conversation, whatever it is, whether it's at the school gates. If you think of networking as using someone, then what you're doing is disempowering yourself by believing that you have nothing to offer. Oh, I'm using them. Well, why would you think that? You have a lot to offer. So instead, if you approach this as a win-win opportunity, you are signaling that you have something valuable to offer them either now or in the future. You're making those deposits. Again, reciprocity at work, right? So think about these reframes. And even if you're great at networking, like, oh, this doesn't apply to me, we can all get even better by applying some of these principles, thinking about tapping into the other person's need for recognition, creating the value exchange. It's going to make your outreach even more powerful. Okay, so how do we leverage our networks? You've got the levers of influence, you've got the people, you understand how to reframe it. This is stuff that you hear about, but let's actually, we're going to get down to the brass tacks, okay? There's no workaround. You have to go out and meet people and have conversations. Otherwise, your network is just sitting on a shelf gathering dust like an old book. So last night, I had to go to a networking event with 300 people. It was a black tie gala dinner. And that's not my jam either. But I said, you know what? Focus on one conversation at a time. Focus on building connection. Focus on value exchange, on being curious, on being open-minded, on learning, on offering. So that's how I reframe going to this big, room full of 300 people trying to make my way through the crowd. Just break it out into chunks. Regular engagement. This is not a one and done, right? Where you're like, hey, you met someone and then you never talk to them again. You got to keep your relationships warm. Hey, I thought of you when I read this article. I drove by and I remember you told me that's your favorite cafe. People love to hear that they're being remembered. It makes them feel significant, which is another core human need. And there's, of course, the wonderful world of social media and LinkedIn, where the world is your oyster. Today, in the snap of a button, you have access to CEOs, to people at all levels, founders, billionaires. We live in a very democratic online society where opportunity is everywhere, right? So just think about how you want to use your network towards the goals that you have, using the reframing principles and using pillars like this, these kinds of touch points to reach out, okay? So again, mutual benefit, always look for opportunities to help others, follow up and feedback. Send follow-up messages to say thank you. Someone's invested time, even if they got value out of it. Reiterate key points. You know, I really found what you said about X, Y, or Z really insightful. And say, hey, by the way, do you have any feedback for me on, you know, how I can improve my approach and understand how I can better support you for the future? People love that. They're like, wow, she really values me. And then leveraging your mentors and sponsors. It's not about identifying them, excuse me, in your workbook alone. You need to nurture that relationship. Sorry, I'm just going to drink some water for 1 second. You need to continue to discuss your career goals, challenges, and your development plans, and be open to feedback. And with sponsors, keep them informed about your achievements and career aspirations. I stopped working at that company over 13 years ago. We're still in touch. WhatsApp. I said, hey, I am now a leadership coach. It's like, oh, I have a great guy you can talk to. He was my coach when I was, you know, a COO. You should work together. So it's not a one and done, right? It's the mutual benefit. It's the follow-up and feedback. It's the small touch points. It's about leveraging someone who's already invested in being your mentor and making them feel like you honor and respect their time. So a few tips on this, okay? There's 6 ways to maximize your impact out of your network. 1, be prepared. Think through what it is that you want to get out of this conversation, what you're willing to give, what you have to give that might be relevant. Do your research. People in organizations reach out to each other all the time. Hey, let's get a coffee, because there's no barrier. You work in the same company. There's that mutual understanding and familiarity. But don't go make an appointment with an SVP and say, hey, so tell me about your job. Do your research. What do they do? What are their challenges? Ask insightful questions. I see that you are, running a team of 17 people across these 16 different time zones. How do you balance that? How do you stay on top of things? Show that you've invested time. Be crisp, be focused. Don't just ramble. I would love to get your thoughts on X, because that would really help me with Y. And so I was wondering if you could, right? Have a structure. Do the soul searching beforehand. Don't ask someone to be a mentor and say, hey, so I don't really know what I want to do with my life. I don't know if I want to keep working. If that's not the place to have that conversation. Go have that with your partner, whoever else it is, or your friend over a contemplative dinner. But do your soul searching beforehand so you come across as a professional, as a leader, as an executive. Bring specific problems and discuss solutions. I would love your guidance on how to get past this obstacle and facing. I feel I have now been passed over for promotion 3 times to someone less competent than me. And something that I've been told repeatedly I need to work on is the way I communicate. So could you help me learn? I've seen you do that really well. Okay, so that's an example of a specific problem in discussing solutions. Always end with how you can help in return. I always ask this. What's one thing I can do for you? Very simple. And stop talking. Listen to what they have to say. They might have an idea that you may never have thought of. And you're like, of course. And then you're building influence from commitment and consistency. You're committing to doing that because you've said you're going to do it, right? So here's how you impact your networking and your network by doing these things. I thought this was a pretty comprehensive list. Okay, so I want you to now write down, take 2 minutes, going to take 2 minutes, and we're doing great on time. What's one mindset shift you will make about networking, and what value can you add or offer to others in your network? So I'm going to give you a minute to think about it, and then I'd love to just have you write some of this in the chat while I play you some music to get your wheels turning.
Sorry, can you put up the question again?
Yes, I can. And this is also the reflection prompt in the workbook for those that didn't have it, should now have it from the link in the chat. What's one mindset shift you'll make about networking? How can you get even better? And then what value can you offer to someone? Okay. We're going to jump back in. Did everybody have a chance to reflect on what they would do to reframe networking and how they can add value? What I would love you to also start to do is I've created a template for you in your workbook, which is, if you don't just get to think about it, right? We're going to actually create a networking plan where you're going to set specific networking objectives, whether it's meeting potential mentors, increasing your visibility in your industry, and by when are you going to do this? How often will you do it? And the status, when have you done it? Are you going to start, etc.? So I've already got you started with this so that you can use these as kind of seed starters. So for example, you're going to build allies. You're going to join 2 to 3 peer support networks within your company by when? In the next 30 days. Okay. And how often? Then you meet with them whenever they meet. Status, you haven't started yet. Another example would be increase visibility in your industry, right? There's tons of virtual groups on LinkedIn for any industry you can imagine. Women in finance in New York, women in leadership, women in technology leadership, whatever it might be. So can you join some of those groups? And this is all, by the way, just an example. This may not be pertinent to you. You might want to do other things. Expand my network. Reach out to 2 new people on LinkedIn every day. I send out however many connection requests I can send every single week, because that's how I grow my network. And that's how I talk to people all the time. And people are always interested in connecting and, expanding their own network. Activate my network, post on LinkedIn. Again, I post on LinkedIn every single day, 7 days a week. You don't have to do that. That's a heavy lift, but can you share thoughts if you've never posted, or can you share them more often and make it meaningful and get better at it? Or can you have coffee with an ex-colleague, an ex-connection? And then you can, meet your sponsor or your mentor, set yourself a target once a month, once a quarter. So thought starters where you could start to put a lot of this in action. Okay. We're not going to pause while you do this, because this is an ongoing exercise, but I want you to get started. Okay, so there's some things in the chat here. Amy was saying mindset shift, approaching networking events by being more curious about their needs. Love it. That's exactly right. Just being more curious is such a shift. I find it hard to see how I can add value to someone I don't know yet so well. Brilliant. That's a brilliant question. We'll ask them. What's one thing I can do for you? I don't know either when I talk to people. What's one thing I can do for them? I always like to ask them, whether I'm reaching out to them on LinkedIn, whether I'm meeting them in person, whether I'm having a virtual chat, whether I meet them at a networking event. What's one thing I can do to help you? If you don't know, ask. Smitha, thank you. Reestablish connections. In return, inquire about their work and offer help, insights, advice to help them. Great. People love to talk about themselves. If you have nothing to talk about, ask them about themselves. People love to do it. And they feel, it's the funny thing is that sometimes people say they've had the best conversation when the other person hasn't actually said a word, because they've just had the opportunity to speak the whole time, right? Because people love to hear the sound of their own voice. Yeah, great. So hopefully you've all started to make a dent in this. And what I would like you to do now, we have some time, but I want you to reflect on, what you've learned today, right? You've learned, let me recap. You've learned to understand the levers of influence, the 6 levers, how to build influence in everyday interaction. What drives influence? How are you being influenced? Sometimes that's equally important. Wait, why did I just say yes to that? Or, how come that person convinced me to go to this? You've learned the who. Who is going to be in your circle of influence? Weak versus strong networks, your allies. You've learned how to build your personal boardroom. What are the seats you need to fill? You can have 3 open seats here, or you can have maybe 6 filled seats there. And how do you rebalance that portfolio? You've learned to leverage your circle of influence. How are you going to reframe networking? And how are you going to apply that in practice? How are you going to leverage your network? No point having a network that sits on the shelf and gathers dust. So I told you it was going to be very interactive. I want you to type in the chat your top 2 or 3 insights from today, from the last 60 minutes we've spent together. Okay, we're not done yet, but I want you to, because by the way, I'm not just asking this for fun to make you guys write. There is a science behind this, which is that when you are actively engaged in the process of learning and writing things down, you're committing that to memory to a much higher degree than if you were to just sit back and listen passively. Okay, so by doing this, by writing down as you go and sharing and constantly stopping to reflect, you're allowing all of this to sink in, because there's a lot I'm giving you today. So I want you to try to distill it to your top 3 or 2 insights. Nosheen said power of the weak network. Smita said +1, same. What else? Assigning roles, yeah, sponsor, mentor, brilliant. Shuchi, I feel nervous in large crowds, but I can frame networking with a different mindset, learning, curiosity, great. Actively seek sponsors using the 6 levers of influence, brilliant. You guys are smashing it, love it. Okay, I'm sure the wheels will continue to turn and you'll have learnings. Humbert, are you still with us? Not sure. Okay, reframing.
It's me.
Okay, wait, I can't see you. Who spoke? Was that?
It's Nushin.
Oh,
It's
Nosheen,
one
okay.
and the same person.
Okay, great. Now you show up as Nosheen. Good. Earlier you were Humbert. Brilliant. Lovely. Okay, so thank you all so much for sharing that. What I'd like to do now is that I would like, with your permission, to say yes, if this is good. I'd love to tell you about how we can help. Okay, I'd love to tell you about the work that I do called the Career Accelerator for Women, and you know how this can help you with all the things we're talking about today. So if that's cool with you, just type yes in the chat. Great, thank you. So I'm not going to have time to go into all of it in great detail, but I'm going to walk you through the 5 big outcomes that I work with you on, okay, as part of the Career Accelerator for Women. So grab a piece of paper and a pen if you don't already have one in front of you. I'm sure by this point you all do. This is not in your workbook, but I'm going to share the 5 big outcomes that my clients get and that you can expect, okay, from this program. The first is vision, clarity, path. What does that mean? That means that we start with establishing a vision for your life in the future, 10, 20, 30 years from now, when you're 80 years old, okay? Keep a simple vision of what you want. Where are you? Who are you with? What kind of work are you doing? And what is around you? And then we come to the 12-month goal. Where do you want to be in 12 months with a lot of granularity? What's the role I want? What's the work I'm doing? How much am I getting paid? Who am I working with? And then we come to the present, today. What do I need to start, continue doing today so that I can get to my 12-month goal, which is in keeping with my vision for my life? Okay, that's the vision, clarity, path. You can draw a direct line from today into the future. The second thing we do together is we go on a confidence cultivation journey. Because no matter who you are or how much you've achieved, we all lack confidence in one aspect or the other of our life. Okay, I work with women who are CEOs of tech companies or senior partners in a consulting firm, and they might be amazingly confident in 9 out of the 10 areas. There's one thing that's holding them back from their next level of success. So we unlock that. We do that in a few different ways. I help you develop a bulletproof mindset by cultivating empowering beliefs and uprooting disempowering beliefs, like you cultivate a garden. You plant the seeds and you uproot the weeds, and it's ongoing. We reframe fear by good fear and bad fear. Good fear is what keeps us moving out of our comfort zone into our challenge zone. It's that fear we feel when we take that big step. That fear keeps us stuck. It's the rumination, the woulda, the coulda, the shoulda. It's not serving you. And we reframe imposter syndrome as just imposter thoughts. They're just thoughts that we all have about, hey, can I do this? It's not a disease and you haven't committed a crime. You're not an imposter and it's not a disease. If we just add the word yet, I haven't done this yet. I haven't had this role yet. You know, the famous quote that, or statistic that men apply to a job when they have 6 out of the 10 criteria, while women wait to make sure they've got 10 out of 10. That's imposter syndrome manifesting, that I don't know how to do this. I'm not sure I'm ready yet. Okay, so we change that to put you on this confidence cultivation journey. The third thing, so just write down these big outcomes, because just applying that right away will help you move the dial. Authority. Okay, how do you build authority, right? Like that was the question, Nosheen, you had. Like, I understand it's a lever of influence, but how do I show up with authority to influence others? Well, that's what we teach. You start with writing your personal brand statement. What are my goals? What have I already achieved? What are my values? What are my strengths? What is the impact I've had in my career? And when you have that personal brand statement, it serves as your blueprint for how you show up in the world. You feel your own sense of authority. And when you feel your authority, others feel it too. Okay, so we help accelerate your authority through your personal brand statement. The fourth thing is the circle of influence, the piece we talked about. Understanding how to reframe networking, understanding, we just spent an hour here, and look how much further along you are in terms of having mapped, having rethought of networking, having come up with these levers. We go deep, right? We go even deeper and try to say, okay, well, now I'm going to hold you accountable. This is the plan you've crafted with me in the workshop. What are some obstacles you've come across? Do you have a mentor yet? Do you have a sponsor? So this is a really key piece to the whole puzzle, because people help people, right? People help people get ahead. Your advancement, your promotion, your opportunities are not going to come out of thin air. They're going to come from other people. The fifth and final piece is, I don't just leave you on your own to figure this out, right? Because if it was as easy as reading a book or watching a TED Talk or listening to a podcast, we'd all be thriving in our career. But that's where I come in. I am going to be guiding you and supporting you all along the way to hold you accountable to that goal, that vision you've set for yourself, right? That's why I have happy clients and great results. So let me recap. The first thing we do together is we create a vision clarity path. Then we go on a confidence cultivation journey to help you level up in whatever aspect of your life you might be missing confidence. Then we accelerate your authority with your personal brand statement. Then we help bring the circle of influence to life. And then you get world-class customized support. So I want to share with you 3 examples of my wonderful clients that have achieved a lot of these things that I've just shared with you about. Okay, these are real people, women who sat in your shoes not too long ago, and here's where they are at today and what they've had to say. Okay, so these are the names have obviously been replaced, but these are real people. Sarah is 41. She's the director of operations, and she went from director of operations to senior director. What she told me was, I wish I had learned this 10 years ago. My only regret is waiting so long. Here's where she was before. She was stuck in the same role for 3+ years, working hard, full calendar, but not being seen. She lacked influence and a network of supporters. After she got promoted to senior director, she has regular one-to-ones with the C-suite, and she's leading global initiatives. What changed? Simply, if I were to distill it, she's learned to lead through influence, okay? She used small, authentic conversations like the ones we've been talking about to build trust and influence. Not just about working harder. I gotta, get the profit margin from 10 to 12%. Because sometimes the harder you work and the better your results, the more you stay stuck in the role because people think of you as indispensable. I can't afford to promote her. So you turn the dial by turning the way you operate and building trust and influence. Okay, let's look at another example, Rachel. She is a senior counsel in the Global Investment Bank, a legal counsel. She's been double hatting, so I had 2 roles for a long time. And she said, I was just told to wait my turn, to just be patient, that we don't promote people a lot around here. She was overworked, like I said, doing these 2 roles. After I worked together, she reframed networking as a leadership habit, not as a hustle. She decided her path. Okay, I've been doing these 2 roles, but I'm getting paid for one. I'm going to decide the path I go down instead of waiting for permission. She now speaks on panels. Her turning point, she learned to make strategic asks, not wait for recognition. Oh, I need my boss to recognize I'm working so hard with these 2 roles, because that only leads to burnout. She realized, much like many of you have, that networking isn't about selling, it's about serving. Okay, it's that value exchange. And then finally, I want to share the example of Paula, 37. She went from senior manager to director. She was always looking for promotion and recognition. She said, I stopped chasing recognition and just started leading through influence. So I'm not going to go through each of these points here, but she stopped just over preparing. She was too nervous to speak with authority. She was questioning her decisions and second guessing herself. She got promoted to director ahead of schedule. She asked for a raise that she got, which was 20% during just within the 2 months of our work together. And she told me with literally tears in her eyes that one evening she was working late and it was just her in the office and the CEO was there. And he came into her office and said, Paula, you're doing a fantastic job. She received direct recognition. She's like, I didn't even know he knew who I was. She received direct recognition from the CEO for strategic initiatives. She learned to communicate with confidence and authority through a lot of the proven frameworks, and she stopped always over preparing and being nervous. Okay. So take a breath as I move on to the next one. What TCA is the Creator Accelerator for Women. Okay, that's the trademark program. What you get is you join weekly coaching, mindset tuning, and Q&A sessions. You get one-on-one support from me to break through your blockers. You walk through the full app-based curriculum. I have 8 weeks of recorded curriculum, which takes each of these steps in the system, breaks it down into multiple modules in great detail. You'll be surrounded by smart, ambitious women who have similar goals to yours and will be your accountability partners. And you'll feel momentum in your bones, often for the first time in a long time. Okay? I'm going to stop for questions in just a minute. But I want to be very clear. This is not for dabblers. Oh, I just want to dabble. I want to, just give it a go. I want to see how it goes. This is not for people who make excuses. Well, I couldn't do it because I can't ask for this or I can't do that. This is not for those that are happy with the status quo. If you're really happy with where you are, everything's going great, you don't want to make a change, you don't want to step up, you don't want to build your confidence, this is not for you. Not for those not willing to take action. If you're not willing to go and find yourself a sponsor or a mentor, this is not for you. And if you don't have a sense of urgency to change, I can keep drifting along for the next 3 years. This is not the right program. But if you are done waiting, you're coachable, you're resourceful, means you're able to find a way, no matter the obstacle. You're decisive. I can make a decision. I'm the leader of my life. I'm highly committed. I want this to change. I want to get to that next level. You're an action taker. I'm going to make that call. I'm going to connect with 200 people on LinkedIn, which, by the way, is how many people you're allowed to connect with every week. Ready to invest in growing yourself. Then you're in the right place, okay? So the next Career Accelerator cohort starts on October 28th, so just less than 2 weeks away, okay? 13 days from today. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to give you some details. I'm going to put 2 links in the doc. I'm going to put an offer doc, which has some details on what that looks like, what the program looks like, including the investment. And also, my gift to you is a game plan booking link. So you can book a call with me, a one-to-one 15-minute session where we will dive in and come up with a game plan to see if this is right for you. Okay, so I'm going to stop sharing for a second and just put those things in my in the chat so that you can see for yourself what that is, and then I'll be happy to answer any questions that you might have on any of it. So first document here is the offer doc, my offer to you. And the second is your game plan booking link, where you can book your one-to-one session with me. I'm only offering this for the next 4 days. So this will be between now and Tuesday. Okay, Tuesday, the 21st of October. After that, there's no more opportunity for enrolling or to chat. So if you want to speak, we need to do that now. Book your call now for the next few days. So let me just take a quick pause while I have a sip of water and you get a break from my voice, so you can look through that. And then I'll wrap up with, what happens next, and then any questions you want to ask me on anything. Okay, so in a couple of minutes, I'll just turn it over to you. Is everybody able to access the doc? Okay, brilliant. Okay, as you look through that, I'm going to go back to this. Okay, so to summarize, what happens next is you can book a post-call game plan set, post-workshop game plan session with me. Yeah, so that's 15 minutes. But we'll put our heads together, see if this is right for you, and answer any questions you have to ensure this is the right fit for you. Because as you see, I'm very particular about who I invite to this program. Okay, I have a clear list of this is not for you and who this is for. If it feels right to join TCE and I think you're the right fit, we'll get you started. Okay. My offer to you today for being in this program, and because I want to work with people who are decisive and resourceful, is I'm going to give you a fast mover discount of $1,000 off the program. And I'm going to give you, on top of the game plan session, when you enroll, a one-to-one belief turning onboarding session, which is a $500 value, where we get together for 30 minutes and you have your mindset shifting conversation so that you're set up for the program to maximize for success. So the total savings and value of that is the $1,000 that you get off the program plus the 500 belief turning onboarding session if you join before next Tuesday. Okay, because the program starts on the 28th of October and I have a few spots left. So that's my offer to you if you'd like to join. So what I would do is I would love to see you on your game plan session, where I'm happy to answer anything and clarify any questions and understand if this is the right fit for you. So do you have any questions for me, people? What can I answer? Anything? Anything you've learned, anything about the program?
No questions, but this was really nice. Thank you.
My pleasure. Smita, Shuchi, any questions from you?
No questions, but really appreciate all this information. I've been following you on LinkedIn and you're fantastic. I love all your insights.
Oh, that's so kind. Thank you so much. I really appreciate that. I hope we're all connected on LinkedIn. Great, great. Smita, anything that you have a question on, either about what we talked about or the program? Oh, sorry, you're on mute still.
Right. So yeah, probably a question and also just something that's just playing on my mind. So the tools that we learned, the methods, the tools that we learned today, definitely very helpful, especially when it comes to networking. I mean, I clearly undervalued my network until now, and this kind of, is making me look at it in a new light. So I think just from a career standpoint as to, and in terms of where I'd like to take my career. So I definitely see these tools coming in very handy, very helpful to make things happen instead of just sitting around waiting for things to happen. But I still believe that this is in a very ideal setting, you know, when you talk about reciprocity, when you talk about it, it's an ideal setting, right? It's like, you know, you expect people to be, you know, honorable and, you know, do the right thing and, you know, to build on that bank of favors, you know, the things that you've done for them and, you know, turn back and say, hey, you know what, I've got your back. But I'm sure you've had, you know, based on your experience, I know you've had plenty of experience, you know, working with people from across the board, across various industries. It's not always the case that, you know, these these methods work, right? Because there's always, you know, this political aspects to, like, say in a workplace, and a lot of times you're caught in the crosshair, and it's very hard to kind of navigate that. So what advice would you give to someone who's basically having to navigate a very, like, say, tenuous, you know, politically motivated, say, in a work environment where, say, strategies are based more on, like, say, the gains that one might, you know, have based on certain decisions, rather than actually the, you know, like, the overall, like, say, uh, rather than like driving forward, like, you know, business or like say certain operations, right? So it gets a bit murky. So I don't know if you have like some advice on.
Look, I'm not in your shoes or in your
Yeah.
organization, so I'm not going to pretend like I understand all the nuances of, you know, the politics and all the other context. Look, this is about addressing how you can amplify your impact towards achieving your goals. There's always going to be things and noise that happen on the side, right? Every organization has its politics. If you have more than one person in an organization, it's got to be politics, right? So how do you, I'm not saying don't play the game, don't play politics, but this is about who can help me, not who's detracting from me, but who can help me. And look, you might try, like you said, an ideal scenario, they might not be the person. Next, swipe right, swipe left, right? Move to the next person. And that's the whole conversation about mindset and limits and blockers. Like, how do we let those detractors, how do we dial down their volume and dial up the volume of other amazing people who can actually prepare us, right? So it's always like inner mentor, inner critic, dial up, dial down. How do we dial up the mentor, sponsor, cheerleaders, and how do we dial down the detractors, the people? We're not focused on them because they're not helping us to reach our goal.
Yeah. So I think this you know, having this, like, you know, building your own like personal boardroom, I think this really resonated with my experience, because a lot of times you need people in your corner, and now I would actually, like, say, maintain this playbook, maintain a list, so that I know, hey, you know, I need to work more on this, because, you know, I need more people in my corner, you know, be cheerleaders, sponsors, mentors. So overall, you just thank you so much for the session. I think it was super helpful. Yeah.
Oh, I'm so happy. I'm so happy. Great. And if you wouldn't mind dropping me an email and let me know what you thought, I'd love to use that for the future when I do these workshops to, you know, just for my own for my own bank. And yeah, look forward to staying connected over email and LinkedIn, and hopefully to speak to some of you on your game plan call. Brilliant. Thanks, ladies. Have a lovely rest of your day. Okay.
Thank
take good
you.
care. Look after yourselves. Bye-bye.